Hello, welcome to another edition of Issues with Jide. Here we talk about actions and inactions of those who shape our political and national landscape and how these impact us positively or otherwise. I'm Ibrahim Shita. Today on the show, murder of soldiers, Peter Obi Outraged, demands probe, justice. In the course of the program, you will take your questions, but first subscribe to our YouTube channel and drop your questions in the comment section. It's important to mention that we can only read comments with human names and the ones based on the subject matter. I have joined me via Zoom, the maestro himself, Babajide Kolade-Otitoju. Good to see you, BK.
A very warm welcome to our viewers.
That's right. So let's get right into the matter. The Labour Party presidential candidate in the 2023 presidential election, Peter Obi, has called for a thorough probe into the killing of soldiers during the sit-at-home order after some gunmen believed to be proscribed IPOB terrorists in Aba, Abia State. This is coming after several hours. Peter Obi was asked to release a statement which he swiftly does on issues outside of his region. BKO.
Yes, I'm happy that Peter Obi finally got to condemn in strong terms the dastardly murder of 5 soldiers at the checkpoint. The checkpoint is called Obi Junction in Aba, the commercial nerve center of Abia State. Before now, people had expected him to condemn in strong terms the activities of gunmen in the southeast who have instituted a reign of terror on their people. He had not been forthcoming to condemn such killings. But this time around, Peter Obi condemned in very strong terms, and I don't think that anyone can be in doubt of the fact that this came from his heart, because he showed his anger in that statement. This is what we want to see. If we want to defeat violence and criminality in our land, we must not pay lip service to efforts to defeat crime. We must not make political statements. We must be very direct in condemning such killings. There's nothing that we will gain by behaving like we were not aware that such killings took place. All decent politicians, all decent Nigerians must condemn what is going on in the southeast. The sit-at-home as a form of civil disobedience was instituted in August 2021. And I can say that it has caused unmitigated damage to the economy of the Southeast. States that share boundaries with the southeastern states have been reaping bountifully from the relocation of businesses from the southeast to their states. One of such states is Akwa Ibom, Delta. People, the Igbo man loves to open his container on a Monday morning. That is the day that you have said that they must sit at home and simply do nothing. So they have no choice but to divert those containers elsewhere. Governors will tell us that sit at home has been defeated, but we all know that this is not true. Nnamdi Kanu came out to say, look, I have cancelled all forms of sit at home, but we still see people enforcing sit at home on Mondays. Some people are saying it is IPOB, but I don't think it's fair to blame anyone at this point. There is a fugitive who is based in Finland, Simon Ekpa, who disagrees with Nnamdi Kanu's desire to put an end to sit at home. He has been telling people to enforce sit at home from his base in Finland, where he calls himself Prime Minister of Biafra government in exile. In this instance, Simon Ekpa demanded that there should be sit at home from the 29th to the 31st of June. He was not in agreement with IPOB, which issued a statement through the spokesman, Ima Powerful, asking people to sit at home on May 30 to celebrate the Biafran heroes lost during the 3-year civil war against Nigeria. Of course, the civil war is an emotive issue with many people from the Southeast. So the sit at home was not just enforced, was largely carried out, was largely successful on May 30 across the states of the Southeast. Now, Peter Obi came out strongly. He said, I am appalled and saddened by the attack on our brave soldiers in Abia State yesterday, resulting in the death of 5 soldiers. That dastardly act remains condemnable, as it is a stark reminder of the escalating insecurity and violence that has continued to plague our nation under our collective watch. I like that phrase, under our collective watch. Peter Obi chose his words carefully and wisely. By saying under our collective watch, he is not blaming an individual. He's not blaming a government. He's not blaming the governors of the Southeast. He's not blaming the government of the center. He's saying that we all share in the blame. And I think it's at home and we fail to condemn it. We are indirectly encouraging people to continue to force people to sit in their houses when they are supposed to be out there making money. I remember the speech, the statement made by the governor of Abia State on the eve of this May 30 sit at home. The governor said his government will not confront promoters of the sit at home syndrome. But what did we see? You do not want to confront them. Now they've killed 5 soldiers. And the state government is running from pillar to post. Soldiers have short markets. Soldiers are itching for revenge. And we all know that when this happens, it's innocent people who would be arrested. The boys who carried out the killings will have escaped. Innocent people will be arrested. Innocent people will be detained. Innocent people could even get killed by angry soldiers uh, who are clearly enraged by the killing of their colleagues. IPOP claimed that politicians used the people who carried out this attack. Again, we have no evidence whether this was carried out by uh, agents of politicians. All we know is that this was an unprovoked attack, and Kano's lawyer, Ejiofor, said that it amounted to a desecration of Igbo land on a holy day. I also like the statement that part of the statement that will be issued, where he said we must identify and punish the culprits. He said the time for action is now, and that it is not a time for hollow promises. It's not a time for hollow promises. This is a time for us to take a swift and decisive action, not empty words and hollow promises. Very good speech. I hope that this will not be the last time that I will condemn this kind of action. I was reading the governor of Anambra State, where he said that in 2 years, Anambra State alone lost 19.6 billion to the sit-at-home policy being enforced by gunmen believed to be loyal to IPOP, believed to be loyal to Eastern Security Network, and believed to be loyal to Simon Ekpa, who is based in Finland and calls himself the Prime Minister of the Biafra government in exile. So, in the last few years that this sit-at-home has been enforced, we've witnessed worsening insecurity, grounded human and economic and commercial activities, closure of banks, markets, schools, and offices. The roads are often deserted. Revenue running into trillions of naira have been lost as a result of the fact that micro, small, and medium-scale enterprises, as well as indigenous manufacturing and agro-allied industries, are the worst affected. The worst affected. In a country where poverty is rampant, many people rely on daily income to feed their families, to pay school fees of their children. These are the people that Simon Ekpa and others like him are saying they should not go to work. Imagine Simon Ekpa, who is based in Finland, saying that people should sit at home from the 29th to the 31st of June. If people were to sit at home for that long, what would they eat? What would they eat? And you are in Finland enjoying a life of luxury and pleasure. Our people are battling to survive a battered economy. You are telling them to sit in their houses, cross their legs, and not do anything. It's about time we found a way to stop this problem, so stop this sit at home, because it's costing people their lives, it's destroying people's businesses, and people's well-being, people's overall well-being is affected by the fact that They can't go to school when they should. They can't open the banks when they should. They can't open their business premises when they should. This May 30 was the day students were to write their mathematics examination, West African School Certificate exam. They were supposed to write mathematics on that day. That's a compulsory subject. If children from the Southeast were unable to sit for their mathematics paper, you can imagine the implication of that. Some of them will have to wait for another year. So forcing people to sit at home has a lot of ramifications, a lot of consequences. And that's why the Southeast governors must come together. This is not the time to try to be political in the statement that you make. But I say you will not confront people promoting a sit at home. Now you fail to confront them. They've killed soldiers in your state.
That's right.
And when this happens, it has implications. How do you stop soldiers from showing their anger? So Governor Oti and others and other governors must know that this time we must call black white.
That's right.
We must call black black and not call black white. It's important to speak with one voice on this matter. Sit at home has to end. If Nnamdi Kanu himself, when he was met, when Eze Chukwuemeka and Senator Ifeanyi Uba went to see him in his cell at the DSS headquarters, he said that sit at home had come to an end, that those Mondays should be dedicated to promoting whatever would make the Southeast to achieve real economic growth and development. Why then are some people still enforcing sit at home? Why are they still killing people in the name of enforcing sit at home?
Yeah.
So if the man who started it or the man whose group started this has said sit at home has come to an end, whether on the days that they are taking me to court or on this, why are some people still enforcing sit at home? After all, Nnamdi Kanu has spoken. The implication of this is for those of us who have been pushing hard for a political solution to Nnamdi Kanu's problem with the federal government. The continuation of this violence, even after Nnamdi Kanu has spoken against it, will send a signal, a clear signal. The violence will not stop.
That's right, Bikero. That's right.
And that is really terrible.
Right, Bikero, can you hear me?
Yes.
That's right. So, just like you said, Peter Obi said something like, describe the killing of the soldiers as a dastardly act, which according to him remains condemnable, as it is a stark reminder of the escalating insecurity and violence that has continued to plague our nation under our collective watch, just like you read. Do you feel that this monster called IPOB, they're acting under this monster acting under the guise of the proscribed indigenous people of Biafra has grown beyond redemption?
What is clear now is that all kinds of people have hijacked the struggle. I don't think now that even if Nnamdi Kanu were to issue a statement stopping this once again, if he were to once again issue a statement and is recorded saying nobody should do sit at home again, I don't think these boys will listen. Cultists, people broke out of jail the other day, They are, a lot of them, only a few of them have been rearrested, and some willingly walked back into the prison walls. A lot of these guys are the ones killing people now. A lot of these hardened criminals who are released from jail illegally when hoodlums attacked some of the prisons in the southeast. They are the ones carrying out these attacks now. And then, as I said earlier, the Simon Ekpa factor cannot be dismissed because he's like a factional leader of IPOB at this time. So Nnamdi Kanu may give his directive and Simon Ekpa will give a contrary directive. And it is clear that Simon Ekpa has loyalists, he has enforcers among some of these brigands attacking people, in the name of sit at home. So it looks really, really, it's quite dicey. It's quite tough to put an end to sit at home at this time because the criminals are on the loose and they have sponsors who you ask where do they get the money to buy Sienna buses and other and the weapons that they use to kill people because they move around in Sienna buses and they are well armed. They are well armed. They fire AK-47. They are always armed with AK-47 and other assault rifles. So who are the people providing them with these weapons? The military have tried to crush these boys, but some of their cells are still very much active in some states of the southeast, especially Imo and Anambra states. Still very, very active. Their cells are still very, very active, especially in Imo, Anambra, and even in Abia.
That's right. Right. Let me take one or two comments. Kayla Charity says, Peter Obi was the one who chased away Masob in 2009 from Anambra when he was governor. Peter Obi frowns at anything that destroys business, education, and health. Demo says, why can't Simon Ekpa be extradited to Nigeria for prosecution? Mitsun Songa says, with the spate of killings of soldiers here and there by non-state actors, Babajide, is this not an indication that our fighting force, which is the army, is weak? Well, you answer that question because of your response. Nelson Adefe says, in my opinion, okay, Kayla Charity says, why is Tinubu detaining Nnamdi Kanu, knowing well that his detention is giving Ekpa the cover to rain terror on Southeast? Tinubu needs GDP growth from all regions if he wants a $1 trillion economy. Edmond Odebi says, these characters are double dipping. Just go on the internet and see how Biafran lovers are supporting Simon Ekpa. Well, those are the comments, BK. So I think about two questions for you there. One is asking about the strength and determination of the Nigerian military, and then why they think that Tinubu, that the president should release Nnamdi Kanu so that all of these problems will be solved, and then the support people are giving to Simon Ekpa on the internet.
I'm not surprised that Simon Ekpa continues to get support. Let's not kid ourselves. Some of the issues that triggered the civil war have not been addressed. And a lot of people believe that the Southeast is still being treated as unwanted people. Since 1999, The Southeast has neither produced a president of Nigeria nor a vice president. I cannot explain why this is the case. The Southeast must be treated as an integral part of our country, and the people must feel wanted. If the Southeast continues to be marginalized politically, it will give ammunition to people who believe that they must get out of that, the Southeast must get out of Nigeria. So efforts must be made to bring the Southeast into mainstream politics and allow and make it possible for them to really get to the top politically in our country, to produce either vice president or president. Although I know too that they must play their politics right, for that to happen. But if we want if we want to isolate those who are carrying out these attacks, people who are saying, look, the Southeast needs to leave Nigeria, we have to do our best to accommodate the Southeast a lot better than we are doing now. That is one. So I'm not surprised that Simon Ekpa is getting all that support, because to many people, Nigeria has not forgiven the Southeast for what happened during the Civil War. Nigeria has not fully integrated the Southeast into the scheme of things. And that's why I gave the example that since 1999, the Southeast has neither produced a president nor a vice president. And we've seen even the South, produce a president of Nigeria. We've seen the Southwest produce the president twice. We've seen the Northwest produce the president. We've seen the Northeast produce a vice president. So anything that will make the Southeast feel marginalized, our political leaders must work against it. That is one. The other question as to whether our soldiers are weak. I do not believe that our soldiers are weak. Yes, we always want improvement in every area, but I don't think it's the weakness of the soldiers. One of the most effective military strategies is an ambush. No matter how strong an army is, it can be caught napping by an ambush. I still remember when Boko Haram killed more than 100 Chadian troops on Chadian soil in one day. It was a classic case of ambushing troops at their location, at a peninsula in the country. And you can see when the Chadians decided to fight back, led by their president, they dealt Boko Haram a decisive blow. In fact, they moved into Nigeria, destroyed Boko Haram's weapons, weakened them, especially in the Tumbus of Borno State and parts of Chad. That is, Tumbus means the islands of Lake Chad, straddling Chadian territory and Nigerian territory. The fight back was a very brutal one, and they paid with their lives and they lost their weapons. So any army, no matter how strong, can be victimized in form of an ambush. We saw even our gas brigade when they were ambushed in Abuja. Many of them were killed because an ambush usually catches you by surprise. The enemy is seeing you, but you that you are going to be their target, you won't even know. They will come They will descend on you suddenly like paratroopers, and before you know anything, maybe you are in your vehicles, before you come out, they've already killed as many people as possible. In this case, the gunmen in the southeast set ablaze even patrol vehicles and all that. So I don't believe that the army is weak because they were not defeated in one phase, in one proper phase of war. They were killed through an ambush. It's always, even during the Vietnam War, America lost a lot of their troops through ambushes, but in a proper phase of the war, America dealt with the Vietnamese, but ambushes were common, and being killed through explosives were also common. So these things happen. So talking about why Asiwaju needs to release Nnamdi Kanu, I've always demanded for Nnamdi Kanu's release. I've always asked for a political solution to the problem, and I will not stop asking for it, because for me, he even looks like somebody who is much more sober now than before. I listened to that interview, that he, the impromptu interview that he granted in the courtroom, some months back. He spoke like somebody who is no longer interested in taking up armed struggle against his own country. So I've always wanted the political solution, and I believe that is still the best solution. But you cannot release Nnamdi Kanu unconditionally. It has to come with some conditions. And one of those conditions will be that he will renounce his armed struggle against his country. He will affirm his belief in the indivisibility of our nation. So I believe that his release should happen, but it should happen with some conditions.
That's right.
No one is going to release unconditionally. So that is the thing. I want him released, but hopefully his release will put an end to the nonsense, the nonsensical violence that is going on in the southeast.
That's right. We have some 3 minutes to go, but let me quickly take some of these comments. Taiwo Odunlade says, Kanu was the one who gave birth to ESN, and ESN under Simon Ekpa is now bigger than what Kanu can handle. We can, and Nam says, we can help them get out of Nigeria. They can start leaving our region and go back to Biafra if they really want to get out of Nigeria. The blackmail is not working. Taiwo Odunlade, okay, I've taken that. Nelson Adefe, I don't know why. Well, I'm not going to read your comment because you were asking why I didn't read your comment, because some comments have to comply with the broadcasting code. So you need to ensure that you are keeping the proper comments. Well, Victor Patrick says, Babajide is fair in his analysis as always. He should be called into the government as special advisor on security and fair share of everyone. He's straight without bias when it comes to one united Nigeria. Well, thanks for that comment.
I appreciate you for that comment.
Right. Taiwo Odunlade says, Mr. Babajide, Kanu cannot be released without conditions. He must drop his agitations. Okay, so BK, very quickly, but some people are saying that not big hills. Peter Obi's reaction, was coming about 24 hours after this sad incident, and condemnation by many Nigerians who expected him to react earlier. Soon after, former Vice President Atiku Abubakar also condemned the killing of the soldiers on Thursday. So many netizens expressed worry that the Labour Party presidential candidate in the 2023 elections did not deem it fit to speak on the dastardly acts, especially since he hails from the southeast region where the killings happened, and has once identified with them by describing them as his neighbors. What do you make of this, very quickly, in less than a minute?
Yes, it's a shame that before now, Peter Obi was reluctant to condemn killings by these gunmen in the southeast. I don't know why somebody who wants to rule Nigeria, wants to be president of Nigeria, who not want to openly condemn the violence in the southeast. Because the violence has not profited anybody in any way. And some of this, this kind of tongue-in-cheek approach has lionized the boys. You know, it's like playing to the gallery. You see that something is wrong. You are reluctant to. It's not the only person who is reluctant to condemn this because they believe that if they condemn it, that the people will turn against them. Some people will turn against them. You know, but what is bad is bad. So if you want to be president of Nigeria, what is bad you must condemn. You cannot cherry pick what to condemn among those things that are bad. Because if you are in a hurry to condemn certain developments and they see you keeping quiet when people are being killed in the southeast, then people will see you purely as a hypocrite. But I'm happy that this time around he came out smoke killings. And I hope that going forward, this is what we will continue to see from Peter Obi, where something is bad, whether it affects your own area or not, you must come out to say this is wrong. So let's give him credit for what he has done. Let's forgive him for his past behavior of not condemning this kind of abominable violence.
That's right. And that's our show for today's edition of Issues with Jide. Special thanks to you, Babajide Kolade-Otitoju, for those insightful analyses as always. Mikhail.
Thank you, Ibrahim. Thank you, our viewers. We'll do this again with you next week. Wherever we find ourselves, we'll be available to do justice to
Absolutely.
the topic of the week.
Right. And thanks to you to our audience for your company on every edition. You can see the program again anytime by subscribing to our YouTube channel, TVC News Nigeria. Click on the subscribe button to get the latest information. You can also follow us on our social media platforms at TVC News NG. I'm also at Ibrahim_Shita. On behalf of the rest of the team, I'm Ibrahim Shita. See you again next edition. Bye for now.